Good morning, everyone. I was hoping that we would go for a walk. We would go for a walk, talk about the debate that happened last night. I don't know how I feel about that, and I'm gonna need your input on it because I think it's very worth discussing. I'm just gonna suit up. We'll go into the field today. I planted a couple of trees yesterday. I want to go take a look at them, see if the deer ate them. Nature, right? Nature always wins. Okay, let's go. Whew. What a day. Did anyone else watch the debate and figure out what was going on with our leaders and how they're going to navigate the future for us? I was very impressed by Mr. Blanchette. You know, he had some very amazing points. Oh, I guess I forgot to close my chickens last night. They're all still there. Yeah. What's going on, Jackson? Welcome to the program, Man School, where we meet every morning at 8 o'clock and chat. I live in the middle of nowhere and I don't have any friends. And so I thought I would come to YouTube and share my farm life and add my commentary to what's going on in this life. Nonsense in our Man School for young men, and young women have now joined our group, and I welcome them all. I think it's fantastic that we get together and chat. You know, it's like going out for breakfast with your breakfast bunch. I miss that sort of thing. When I was younger, I used to have so many different people that I would associate with and do business with, but today I live on a 43-acre ranch and, well, nobody comes to visit anymore. Nobody comes to call. I almost feel like I'm forgotten. But in that, you know, when you lose everything in life, you start to count the things that you gained. And the things that I've gained, I'm kind of excited about. Have you seen all my trees that have been growing? Look at 11,000 of them I planted just 2 years ago. And now they're almost up to my hip. They were wee little things. They must have been 6 to 8 inches when I put them into the ground. And now look, there. Look at this one. Look at this guy right here. Huge. So, anyway, I like to walk my field in the morning. First, to get my exercise, and second, to check out the trees. I don't really exercise as much as I used to. My wife is the exerciser. So anyway, did anybody see the debate? Let's talk about the debate in Canada for those who are not Canadian, we have a federal election. And in this federal election, the party that's in power right now, they have been here for almost 10 years. It'll be 10 years in October. And they have done an amazing job of really ruining our beautiful Canada. They have created laws and made rules that only serve a specific type of person. And that is the people who don't want to do or put any effort in. We've basically become a socialist, communist country. And it's very troubling. Good morning, Ruby. Good morning. Ruby, I was just in my field showing my trees. And look at this guy. I just planted this thing the other day, about 2 weeks ago. And man, it has really done well. So yeah, the government that was in power, they've really done a really horrible job. And now we're having some federal elections. And by doing that, we're going to see if we can change the climate of our beautiful Canada. And by doing this, there was a debate last night. And I don't know if you saw it. Ruby, did you watch the debate last night? I think I'm gonna keep moving. It's rather cold out today. And the Liberal Party, which was run by Carney, this gentleman who ran the Bank of England and the Bank of Canada, and he really messed up England. He was the one that advised them to go to Brexit. And by Brexit, look what's happened to Great Britain. What's happened to it is that they don't call it great anymore. They just call it Britain. Nothing great about it anymore. It's been overrun by just the riffraff of the world. And they're allowing them to come in and take over. It's interesting to know that you could have a country that has a king, or a queen for that matter, and them to give up their beautiful country that used to make the Rolls Royce and the Hawker Hurricane and they dominated the world for hundreds of years, and now they are overrun by the same countries that they colonized. My, the world changes, isn't it? Same across Europe. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. You didn't think that he looked in good health? He didn't do both. Oh, so he didn't do both. Yeah, that's right. He didn't do both good in both debates. Well, I think the reason that he didn't do well in both debates, Ruby, is because he doesn't want the job. He really doesn't. And if you pay close attention, I'm a 53-year-old guy, and I've run many businesses. I've run many corporations, and I have made, at one point I had 16 employees and 8 trucks on the road. And I can tell you when a human being wants to work and wants the job, to somebody who just wants to fill a chair or just wants a paycheck. And I am not convinced one bit that Mr. Carney wants the job. I'm not convinced that he's here to implement anything. He doesn't have a strategy. He doesn't have a plan. He has a resume. But how many people have lied on their resume in their life? I think everybody has lied on a resume or another. Months ago, I did a report. I don't know if you might have seen it, about this company called Indeed. Indeed was bought by Microsoft. And Indeed was this company where they found jobs for people. Good morning, James. I think Point is the king wants the social status. Yeah, I'm going to come back to that. Make sure you remind me. But yeah, the Indeed company, it's a staffing agency where you go and you apply for jobs and whatnot. And in that Indeed, it's a job market, but they don't really want to look for jobs for people. What they really want to do is data collection. And as I dug deeper and deeper into this company called Indeed, I realized that by capturing your data for all the people who would apply for these jobs, they had to submit their resumes. And by submitting their resumes, when they applied for different jobs, they would alter their resumes. You know, they would be like, oh, I had 4 years of customer service experience, and I've had 8 years of mechanical experience. And they would alter their resumes to suit the job that they were hiring for. And you see, as a data company, this data of people that didn't really have any qualifications, they just wrote on their resume that they had these qualifications. They captured that data. And so now they knew how many people with the same names, with the same home addresses, were changing their resumes to suit and to modify for these particular jobs. Which got me thinking that everybody lies on their resume. Everyone. Nobody says that they worked for a failing company. They all said that they were the manager that increased sales, or they were the salesman with the top record. Yeah. And so you find out on a very small scale that people, everyday people, are lying on their resumes. And then I brought that same kind of thinking, what did Mark Carney write on his resume that wasn't true? And then you go and you dig deep, and he says that he was the Bank of England's governor of Bank of England. And if you look at the Bank of England, they're almost bankrupt. So if you were the governor and you were in charge of the Bank of England, why would you put that on your resume if you really wanted the job? Fuck. Why would you do that to yourself? And then I got to thinking, he doesn't want the job. By putting that sort of thing on his resume, it's just telling the world. And I think that he was told by Klaus Schwab from the WEF, the WTF is what I call them, that to say, hey, listen, you got to go and finish the job that JT didn't. And you have to do this because we've been paying you a lot of money and you're still on the roster. Does anybody else think that that's kind of suspicious? Anybody else think that, man, if he was the governor of the Bank of England, wouldn't he want a better job? Wouldn't he want to kick back and live a life a little bit rather than have the same job? It just doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't make sense. But I'll tell you, the debate really proved it, right? Blanchett called him out and said, listen, how come you haven't released your financial papers? And he skirted around that issue, didn't even address it. And he has this very big tell, Mr. Carney does. He smiles and he walks back and he touches his nose. And if you have ever hired an employee or had a job interview, those interviewers are looking for slight body language cues, as they're called. And those cues tell a bigger story than the words that come out of your mouth. Because in this life, we live on 3 different planes, and not very many people are aware of it. We live on the conscious plane where we're alive and we feel, and we get to communicate. We live on a subconscious level, right, where we can't really explain things. It's not, our eyes aren't really open. That's like, when you set your alarm clock and you wake up. Well, your subconscious is listening to that alarm clock. And then you have the super subconscious. And the super subconscious, well, that's the stuff that keeps your blood pumping and your heart beating and your brain active and your liver functioning and your mitochondria working. And so, see, that's the 3 planes, the 3 levels of human existence. And when you get to learn to read the subconscious levels of people, you get to learn a different language in which people navigate this world. And some people go to school for it, right? And some people are just old and they recognize it. You see, an old person, like a 53-year-old man like me, when they're talking to a 9-year-old boy, you can tell when they're lying. You can tell when they're not telling the truth. It might not be lying, but they're not telling the truth either. And so you know this, you can feel this. And that's where the wisdom of being old comes in. And as a 53-year-old man watching the debates last night, I wasn't really paying attention to what the people were saying. I was actually paying attention to what they were doing. And that was telling a different story. And I'd like to share that with you this morning. And that is, every time the Pierre Poilievre started to talk, Jagmeet Singh would come in and interrupt. Isn't that a tell? He didn't interrupt when Carney was talking. Didn't interrupt when Blanchette was talking. But he sure went after Pierre every time. And that was a tell for me. Because why would you make up stories on live TV discrediting? He said, oh, you only built 6 houses in Canada. And well, if you go and you chat GPT it and you look at the reports, you'll notice that when Pierre Poilievre was the housing minister, he built 200,000 homes. 200 and change. And he wanted to discredit him on that. And he did it more than once. So, which goes to show you that he was trying to hone down this one point, which, you know, people are not measured by one thing they do. They're measured on various amounts of things that they do. And when you try to bring their attention, people's attention to one thing, that's an indication that you're trying to pinpoint this one thing that is so irrelevant that it's trying to take away from the major point. And the major point is that we have a housing crisis. Not how many houses he built 10 years ago. It's not the fucking point. The point is he's trying to have a plan to build more homes today. And that's really what we need to drill down on. And so Jagmeet Singh interrupted him every single time he wanted to make a point. And it was kind of like proving the point that the NDP are just a wing of the Liberals, because he came to the rescue of the Liberals almost every time. I don't know if he did it consciously or he did it subconsciously, but he did it more than once, which made it very sus. If it happened once, you could say, he jumped in. But he did it on a numerous amount of times. And I was wondering if anyone else in the room saw that happen. And not only did that happen, he talked over him. When Pierre was making some valid points, he kept talking. And that's not a debate. That's an argument. And that's a different kind of communication. It was an interesting... So my wife said something very important last night, which was very... he was like a little lapdog, wasn't he? My wife said something really funny. My wife's a very smart woman. And she says some stuff sometimes that is very thought-provoking. And one of the things that she said last night, she said, wow, after watching this debate, I wonder how many people are running out and voting Liberal. I made a video about it last night and it got like about 1,000 hits, which on YouTube is a lot because I don't have the clout that I have on TikTok, just because I'm dealing with a much more advanced audience on YouTube. Their attention span is a lot greater. My TikTok lives, the attention span of people was about 1 minute and 15 seconds. And my attention span on my audience on YouTube, is about 6.5 minutes. That is like 500% more. Which means that the people that are watching me on this channel are a little bit more invested in learning rather than being invested in being entertained. And I really like that. I like the fact that people are here to learn, because I didn't realize that when I had my TikTok channel, I was entertaining people. That's not really what I wanted to do. I'm a learner. I like to learn things. I like to dig in and dive in and look at different perspectives and bring different perspectives to the table and show people that, hey, this isn't really what they're trying to tell you, and here's why. And I always like to show my receipts and notes and how I got to the thought process. And so I love the fact that I have this audience now. And what I was getting at is how smart my wife is and how this channel is serving me a lot more. And so I'm glad that you're able to be here and learn that kind of thought process. So anyway, going back to the carnage that we had last night, Mr. Carney didn't answer the questions that were asked of him. Blanchette really called him out on a few things that were just unbelievable. I didn't know that he was going to turn on the Liberal Party. But you see, Blanchette and Trudeau had a very different relationship than Carney and Blanchette. And I think Blanchette remembers what Carney had done in 2008 when they didn't treat Quebec very fairly. And even though Quebec gets $13 billion of equalization payments, and I don't really know why they get that payment. I'm going to do my own research and really learn about it a little bit more and bring you the knowledge. But he doesn't have the same relationship with Carney. And fortunately for us as the audience in Canada, he really turned on him and he told him what it's like. And you're going to see a different kind of voting turnout in Canada. I think that you're going to see a lot more people vote PC in this election. I think you're going to see a lot more people voting this election. Even people that were die-hard liberals have switched. And, who wants to be a saver? It's not human. It's not in our nature to save. It's in our nature to consume and to, buy the things we want and live the best life we can. But what's happened in the last 2 years is that consumer sentiment has changed. People are saving more. Even though they don't have more money, they're saving more. And by saving more, they are now taking on conservative values, which isn't what most people in Canada do. Canadians are generally liberals. They came to the country to have a better life, to have different rules and regulations that they had in their own previous country. And I think that when the tides change and more people become conservative, it's indicating what a bad job the Liberals have done for our Canada. 8 million people are in food banks today out of 40 million. That's 20% of our population rely on somebody else to feed them. That's a huge number. I'm going to bring your attention to such things as the Holocaust, for instance, that killed 6 million beautiful people. And That's never forgotten. But nobody talks about the 8 million people that don't have food in Canada, out of all the places, right? Like Canada, we have the most grain, the most energy, the most arable land. Yeah, that's right. Even my chickens are freaked out about that. And you see, there's got to be a solution to all of this. We need a different kind of leadership. You can't even make up the numbers anymore. There's food bank lineups that are pretty astonishing. Today is astronomical. Everybody is feeling the pinch. And if we're going to make Canada a better place, we have to have a shift in thinking. We have to have a shift in how we treat one another. And our economy is not based on people changing their genders or working for the government or being taken care of. Immigrants didn't come to Canada to be taken care of by the state. That's not why they're here. Believe me when I tell you that. I'm an immigrant myself, and my father brought us here in 1976, September of 76, and he worked hard, and so did the rest of the family. And we never wanted a handout, even when we were down and out. And yet, for some reason, there's a group of people in our federal system that think that this is what people want. They want dental, or they want childcare. They don't want that, man. They want to take care of their own kids. They want to make enough money so that they can go and put orthodontics on their kids, and they don't want the government to just fill in the cavities that they have. They want to take care of their health. And in Canada, when you have people that are waiting 20 hours for medical assistance, or us, for instance, my wife and I, we moved into this area, and my wife has had a stroke. She suffered a stroke when she was in her late 20s, and she doesn't have a family doctor. And that's a problem, right? When Canada was the inventor of healthcare, they were the ones that pushed healthcare. They were the ones that advertised it throughout the world, and that's why so many millions of people left their homes, their comfort of their family, their home soil, their favorite food, their friends, to come for a better life in Canada. And now we have food bank lines that are, well, as long as the lines are for medical assistance. They will give you medical assisted in death. But what if you needed a liver? They don't want that. They want your organs. We've become the country of the lowest common denominator. And I don't really recognize it anymore. I don't recognize when I go down the street of how impolite people are now. They're in a hurry. They don't have attention spans. Nobody has eye contact anymore. Nobody wants to join the military. Nobody wants to protect this beautiful country of ours. Military numbers are down, and yet we love funding Ukraine. We love sending money to Gaza, not for humanitarian relief, but to aid their own demise. It's kind of crazy. And I think the universe just agreed with me, because the winds picked up and the windmill is churning a little bit more. And the universe, well, when you pay attention to what she has to say, there's always subconscious indicators. And yet, we don't pay attention to any of it anymore. We have this great ability to tune things out and turn the channel because it's uncomfortable. We don't have uncomfortable conversations anymore. We just have to agree with people and the system. And if you disagree, they silence you. They pull the plug. That's the way we're at right now. I'm gonna go inside because it's getting chilly. Anybody got any questions? It's Friday. Yeah, we've become disconnected for sure. For sure. And you know what's interesting about this is that the debate was a very telling sign that Canada is not having it anymore. And Pierre Poilievre last night showed that he is calm. He is a leader. He might not know what's going on all the time, but I think he has a genuine concern about the well-being of Canada. He wore his Canadian pin while Mark Carney wore his WEF pin. And it was quite telling who he's going to work for. You're lucky you have what you have. Yeah, we are lucky. We are very fortunate. We're very fortunate for sure. I'm on my first trip back to Florida in 6 years, and they're all about their country. So much pride, happy welcoming. What happened to our beautiful Canada? Well, Nick, what happened, I think, is that the country really lost hope. And you know, when you're in a bad relationship and your spouse asks you to do something, or your partner asks you to do something, and you don't do it because you want to do it, you do it because you have to do it. I think that's where we're at in Canada, and people don't want to do it anymore. They don't want to pick up the garbage. They don't want to take care of the homeless. They don't want to take care of the veterans and the seniors. Did you notice in the debate last night, not once did the veterans come up? Not once the Indigenous came up? Not once did the seniors come up? It was very telling. It was very telling of what their priorities are. You see, Canadians are the people that used to take care of the people that were the least vulnerable. There was a time in Canada when I was growing up as a young man that Canada were peacekeepers. We wore the blue helmets and we walked into the line of fire so that we would protect the people that could not protect themselves. And somewhere along the line, we stopped wearing those blue helmets and we stopped becoming peacekeepers. And instead of what happens when you're not a peacekeeper, you are part of the war machine. You have to make a distinction. Who are you, right? Are you a keeper of the peace, or are you a fighter? Are you a... And you don't see that here. You don't see that here. Yeah, you know what you see here now is there's videos out there where people have videotaped people getting their car hijacked or carjacked, or people getting mugged. And you know what they're doing? They're videotaping it. Nobody's stepping in to say, hey, what the fuck are you doing? What are you doing, man? But instead, They're videotaping it to put it onto social media. Yeah. This is a real indicator of how degraded we've become. These are indicators. And we've got to start paying attention to the indicators, my friends. Because when you're driving your car and the check engine light comes on, that's an indicator. That's telling you that your coolant is low, or your windshield washer fluid, or your tire pressure is low. But if you don't do anything about it, that check engine light, that's going to cost you a few $1,000s if you don't pull over and open the hood and see what that WTF is going on. You might not know what it is, but at least open the hood and have a look. Investigate why. Understand why your tire is losing pressure in one side. Understand. Is there a nail in it? Did you forget to put air in it? Like, you can't just keep riding it and not wonder what is happening. And in Canada, for some reason, I think we have started to become numb to problem solving and figuring things out. And I can give you examples of the kids today can't do math. They can't read. There's people that graduate from high school and they can't spell. If you can't spell... Hi, beautiful. My beautiful wife is awake. And so Canada's check engine light is definitely on. And we need to look under the hood. And we need to, in this next election, know that we count. We all count. And we have to make this next election too big to rig. Right? Too big. We gotta show up. We gotta take our friends with us. And you don't want to convince anybody about how to vote, right? Like, you're not saying, oh, you gotta vote this way, you gotta vote that way. No. You just have to take people to the ballot box. Because once people stand in line and they realize that, holy shit, the majority of these people are voting this color or that color, they'll understand that there is a movement going on in Canada. There is a movement going on in the world. And the world is tired. They're hungry. They're depressed. They want a different kind of world. And for the last 30 to 40 years, we have been given this world because we set the cruise control and somebody else was driving the bus. And now the same people are still on the bus, but there's nobody driving the bus. Nobody's at the fucking wheel. They say, oh, it's not my fault, it's their fault, and that's their fault, it's their fault, and this government, and that government, and this department, and that. It's like, I don't care who's at fault. I just want the solution. I'm not here to lay blame. It doesn't help me to know who's at fault. I want to know who's going to fix it. Right? It's like calling a plumber, having a leak, and the plumber saying, hey, you got a leak because your tile is cracked. And it's like, yeah, okay, great. But I don't care how the water started to fucking leak. Are you here to fix it? Or are you here just to tell me what's wrong? I don't want to hear any more stories. I want solutions. And the person that has the most solutions, I don't even care if they're the right solutions. I want the person that's got the most solutions, that's the guy I'm going to vote for. Because the guy with the most solutions, the guy that shows up with the most tools, chances are he'll have the tool to fix the job. But if the guy shows up with a hammer, well, everything, it looks like a nail to him. Or her. Excuse me. I know that there's some ladies that follow Man School. So I hope this chat really makes you think about what happened last night. And when Carney said in the French language debate the other day that he will be introducing a plan next week. Isn't that a little late? Next week? Isn't that the fucking elections are in 10 days? But we have to wait next week, which in my books, because I can count, that's 7 days. 5 days if you're a business guy. Let me read some of these comments before we close up. And that is, you don't see that here. Question, Kev, do you think the PC can, over time, bring us back? Or is this... I think that the PCs, the people who save, they're inherently wanting to save everyone, right? But you've got to, when people are saving, see, the reason why people have such high debt is because they don't know where to start to pay off their debt. And anybody who's financially literate will tell you, you start at the highest interest credit cards and you pay those off first. And so what the conservatives are proposing is, let's build some pipelines. Let's put some railways in. Let's get the infrastructure so that we can start extracting the beautiful stuff underneath our feet so that we can sell it to the rest of the world. It's not a hard sell on that one. But yet, you just can't keep spending. You got to be able to save also in that manner. And the Liberals are out of control, right? Like, they spent $500 billion, and yet we don't have anything to show for it. We got food banks. We got lineups at the hospitals. We got shitty roads. Our kids can't fucking read. Like, what are we spending our money on? We got criminals running the roads, streets. So we're spending money on nothing. So I hope that they come back, James. I really do. Canada's check engine light is on. It's flashing, Deb. It's flashing. You don't want the flashing check engine, man. It's one thing to have a yellow check engine, but when it's flashing red, sometimes that's a little bit too late. And so Nick is saying, yes, that is why we need a new leader to show these people, here's our problem, now let's find a way to fix it. Exactly. You see, Carney he became the prime minister, and he kept the same cabinet. He kept the same fucking cabinet. He didn't even shuffle them. He just kind of like, I was like, okay, you guys are doing a great job. Yeah, you can have your job. You can have your pension. You can have your paycheck. You got to remember this, right? Like, we've been out of government. Our government's been closed since October, but yet they spent $40 billion last month. Who authorized that? Right. Nobody asked these questions. I did. And then Canada needs to get back to unity, not division. Absolutely. Yes, James, people need to wake up and unite. Politicians are causing the division, or should I say the system. You know what? They are in charge of the system, right? When you're at the wheel and your car goes off into the ditch, whose fault is that? Is that the car's fault? Is it the passenger's fault? Or is it the guy who had the steering wheel? So we just gotta start paying attention, man. That's all we gotta do. We gotta start paying attention and be active participants in our beautiful country. Because if we don't start participating, what we will become is just another passenger that has no say. Good morning.
Good morning.
Anyway, it's Friday. I hope you guys have a fantastic week. I hope that you do something amazing with your family, and make sure that whatever you do, you keep learning about what's going on in Canada. You start having conversations with your neighbors and start saying, hey, listen, how do we fix this? And start coming up with solutions. Because we, the citizens, are the ones that steer who the politicians become. Never forget that. We, the citizens, do that. We don't drive the bus, but we choose who the bus driver is. And I want people to remember that. And I hope you have a fantastic weekend. Thanks you for joining me on Man School. And to my loyal listeners, I love the fact that you are my audience. And thank you so much for joining me. Have a fantastic weekend. Bye for now.